the body perishes,
It's her!
the spirit
The one who
endures.
defiled the temple.
Beloved
Murderer!
Andraste,
May Andraste
accept
strike
the
you down!
spirits of our brothers and sisters.
And I'm off.
You and your friends are formidable folk, indeed. I'm sure you'll be pleased.
I shall treasure it. Thank you. You have excellent taste. I don't know how you knew I was missing my homeland. Now, if only you could find it and defeat as well.
Is that for me? Really?
A fine gift. You have my thanks. What? You found Flemeth's grimoire? Ever since we discovered the condition of the Mage's Tower, I had wondered if it might be recoverable, but I had yet to speak of it to you. How fortunate. You have my thanks. I will begin study of the tome immediately. I do not intend to... I await your command. So, full of questions, are you? Why do you ask me such questions? I do not probe you for pointless information, do I? Would it not be easier simply to poke at me with a stick? I think I will elect to answer the question for now, if you do not mind. What is it you asked if I grew up in the wilds? A curious question. Where else would you picture me? For many years it was simply Flemeth and I. The wilds and its creatures were more real to me than Flemeth's tales of the world of man. In time, I grew curious. I left the wilds to explore what lay beyond, never for long. Brief forays into a civilized... Would you not do the same? For all... I was unfamiliar with so much. Equal parts daring and foolhardy, perhaps. Only once was I accused of being a witch of the wilds, and that by a chastened who happened to be traveling with a merchant caravan. He pointed and gasped and began shouting in his strange language, and most assumed he was casting some curse upon me. I acted the terrified girl, and naturally, he was arrested. Men are always willing to believe two things about a woman. One, that she is weak, and two, that she finds him attractive. I played the weakling and battered my eyelashes at the captain of the guard. Child's play. The point being that I was able to move through human lands fairly easily. Whatever humans think a witch of the wild looks like, 'tis not I. Not that I did not have trouble. There are things about human society which have always puzzled me, such as the touching. Why all the touching for a simple greeting? Do not speak to me of trivialities. Your culture is not so entirely different. There were many nuances. I still do not understand it all, truth be told, but then I gave up long ago any hope. Yes. Well, let's get on with... I await your command. So...
That looks fine indeed. I got a moment, sure. You want to be a berserker? Aye. There's a whole pile of philosophical rot that goes behind it. But it does. I'm good at getting people really, really mad. I can teach you what once you got that, you're a quick study, Warden. You must have been seriously... What about? What? Miss Orzammar? Are you mad? All right. I got a moment. What about? All right. I got a moment. Sure. What the hard part? You need to shut that off. Especially my wife. For most berserkers it does. Several years ago, I worked with a berserker on one expedition. Just couldn't work himself up. We had to kick him in the stones before he could get going. Aye, all right then.
And I'm off.
You are good to your troops, Warden.
I'm here for you. Of course. Wait, you want to talk about us? Really? You think so? I'm here for you. Of course. Of course I do. I love stories, but Chantry lore says it is man's pride that created the Darkspawn. In ages past, the mages of the Tevinder Imperium ruled much of the world we know, and their pride, they thought their magics invincible, and so thinking, but they were the maker of any land that was touched by the taint became blighted and would suffer no life. Instead, the Darkspawn arose to torment us.
I've a question. Well, here's the thing. My question pertains to what you intend to do with me once this business is over with. I imply nothing specific, of course. One simply assumes that Once your Grey Warden business is finished, you would have no need of an assassin to follow you about. Indeed. It is good to know what my... What say you? By all means. Oh, you wish to know about Antiva, do you? The only way to truly appreciate it would be to go there. It is a warm place, not cold and harsh like this Ferelden. Every land has its assassins. Some are simply... I hail from the glorious Antiva city, home to the royal palace. It is a... Ah, yes, the city of lava and stone. It too is beautiful, in its way. Sad that it will never see sunlight or smell the salt of the ocean, however. You know what is most odd? We speak of my homeland, and for all its wine and its dark-haired beauties and the lilo flutes of the minstrels, I mean the smell. For years I lived... I grew accustomed to the stench, even though the humans complained of it constantly. To this day, the smell of fresh leather is what reminds me most of home more than anything else. Oh, not so long, I know. It is my... Before I left, I was tempted. I thought, Zevran, you can buy them when you return as a reward for a job well done. More the fool I, no? Indeed. One simply never knows what is to come next. How could I have suspected I would end up defeated by a beautiful grey... I say you are beautiful because it is true. Should I not? And glad I am to hear it. Now, if it is all the same... What say you? By all means. Well, the crows would have you believe that it is an involved process that takes years of training, the sort that tests both your resolve and your endurance. Survive that process and maybe, just maybe, you're good enough to start being considered one of them. But quite frankly, the truth is that all it requires is a desire to kill people for a living. Within the crows, I did. An assassin... Debilitate your foe, either by poison or by crippling their limbs, makes any follow-up combat you need to engage in. See? Getting paid for the act is beside the point. An assassin is more a tactical choice than a lifestyle. Of course, the crows like to pretend that their abilities are trade secrets, shrouded in shadows and so... What say you? I could teach others, but not yourself. But, if there should be... What say you? By all means. Well now, I imagine that's a very fair question. Being an assassin, after all, is a living, at least as far as such things go. I was simply never given the opportunity to choose another way. So, if that choice presents itself, why should I not seize upon it? Now that you mention it, I am not entirely certain. I was but a boy of 7 when I was purchased, for 3 sovereigns, I'm told, which is a good price, considering I was all ribs and bone and didn't know the pommel of a dagger from the pointy end. The crows buy all their assassins that way. Buy them young, raise them to know nothing else but murder, and if you do poorly in your training, you die. Of course. You compete against your fellow assassins, and those who survive are rightfully proud of it. In Antiva, being a crow gets you respect. It gets you wealth. It gets you women. And men. Or whatever it is you might fancy. But that does not mean doing what is expected of you always. And it means being expendable. It's a cage, if a gilded cage. Pretty, but confining. As for what I'll do in the future, presuming that there is one, I truly can't imagine. It might be interesting to go into business for myself, for a change. Far away from Antiva, of course. For now, naturally, I go where you go. And here I am, happy to be had. Isn't it wonderful how things work out that way? Come now, enough chit-chat. Talking about the crows summons them, you know. Any Antivan fishwife could tell you so. What say you?
Something on your mind? Of course. You mean other than becoming a Grey Warden? You know, I asked Duncan this too, and all I got was, "You'll see." I can think of much better lines for you. I might. Just you wait. Oh, it's not that Duncan wants to keep it a secret. It's just that the Grey Wardens don't discuss it much. I gather it's not a pleasant topic. The first change I noticed was an increase in appetite. I used to get up in the middle of the night and raid the castle larder. I thought I was starving. I'd slurp down every dinner like it was my last. My face all covered in gravy. When I'd look up, the other Grey Wardens would stare, then laugh themselves to tears. More like an initiation. They all went through it too. Oh, and then there were the nightmares. Duncan said it was part of how we sense the Darkspawn. We tap into their, well, I don't know what you call it, their group mind. And when we sleep, it's even worse. You learn to block it out after a while, but at first it's hard. It's supposed to be worse for those who join during a blight. How is it for you? Some people never have much trouble, but that's rare. Others have trouble sleeping their entire life. They're just more sensitive, I suppose. Everyone ends up the same, though. Once you reach a certain age, the real nightmares come. That's how a Grey Warden... Oh, that's right. We know... Well, in the Taint, it's a death sentence. And you wondered why we kept the joining a secret from the new recruits. You know, Duncan, I guess he got what he wanted. I know.
I'm here for you.
At your service. Well, we're in camp. Oh, I see. I guess it's better. I'll leave you alone. Something on your mind? Of course. Sure, I guess if I'm going... Something on your mind? Of course. Never what? Had a good pair of shoes? I'm not sure I do. Have I never seen about... Make fun of you, dear lady. Perish the thought. Well, tell me. How... Oh, so that's what we're talking... I, myself, never had the pleasure. Not that I haven't thought... Oh, that's funny. Such cruelty from such a beautiful woman. If you hear sobbing later, that's me crying myself to sleep. Ha ha ha. Or maybe... Something on your mind? Of course. I didn't know them for very long. They were quite a group. We also laughed more than you'd think. There was this one time... Well, you probably don't want to hear stories. There was one when I first joined. A dwarf named Kerrick. He was one of the elders, and he left for Orzammar before the reports of the Blight began. It's too bad, really. Kerrick said that he never wanted to go back. He wanted to die fighting Darkspawn on the surface. There was one Grey Warden who came all the way from the Anderfells. What was his name? Gregor. He was a burly man with the biggest, fuzziest... And the man could drink. He drank all the time, but he never got drunk. Finally, we all made a pool to see just how many pints it would take to put him under the... Sometimes. We were kin of a sort. All of us had gone through the joining, so we knew... Well, anyhow, it doesn't have to be deadly serious all the time. Anyhow, we never did find out. He said he'd drink a pint for every half pint that the rest of us drank. He was still going by the time the rest of us were passed out. I'm told that Duncan walked in later on and saw us all passed out from one end of the hall to the other, and Gregor still drinking. Duncan laughed and Yes. It just struck me that I have nothing to remember Duncan by. Nothing at all. I just would have... well... I'm wondering something. I'd like to know your thoughts about some of our... How about Ogren? You must have an opinion on the smell, at the very least. I would too if he could stick to the ribald stories and not... Though I suppose the point is that he does lift it. And Zevran, the elf. You can't trust him, can you? Do you believe his so-called vow? That's a lot to put on a maybe, isn't it? He's an assassin. The crows aren't known for giving up. Well, if you are, then maybe I should too. But that doesn't mean I won't keep an eye on. What about Sten? The way he looks at me with those eyes. The more I talk to him, the more... And yet, he killed all those people. He doesn't even deny it. Doesn't that bother you? I don't know if I like the sound of that. But I guess I take your meaning. What about Liliana? Is she crazy? Or do you really believe in her vision? That's one way to put it. I noticed that you and her have become... close. Am I right? I thought so. Well, I hope you know what you're doing. I don't know what to make of her. If you look at her when she doesn't see you, she just looks so sad. I almost feel guilty taking her away from her life. True enough. Who'd have thought a sister would prove to be an adept thief and spy, eh? Morrigan, do you trust her? Think about it. Maybe Flemeth sent her with us for some other reason than she... Hello? Have you met her? I think she'd need a reason not to betray us. Don't tell me you actually get along with her. Tell me she's just useful and you're watching her carefully. Great. I am thrilled beyond words. Now, really. Enough. I think my... Something on your mind? Of course. Such as they... About something on your mind?
Are you sure I can't? You and your friends...
How nice. How nice.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice. Oh, thank you. That's very nice.
Most kind. Most kind.
Something on your mind? Of course. Such as they are. About something on your mind?
What say you? By all means. And why not? You are respected, you are feared. As for the killing part, well, some people simply need assassinating. I often find myself as far as enjoying the act of killing itself, why not? There are many things I did not enjoy about being, but simply being an assassin, I like it just fine. I will... Really? Of course all this... But it...
I need to know what's going on between you and Zevran. I've seen the note. I don't know if I can trust you, if I can trust the things you've said to me. What am I to you? And Zevran, you're very special to me. But if you don't feel the same, please tell me now. I am sorry I had to force this on you. I couldn't stand by any longer wondering if I meant anything to you. There wasn't too much harm done. I think I will survive. We should talk. I'm here for you. Of course. Of course I do. I love...
I take it you have found... No, there is no need to deny it. I do not mind. Such is how it goes, yes? Ah, don't be my sweet lady. I never asked you for anything, did I? So I'm forced to ask, if we are not to be lovers, are we at least to be friends? Good. Nothing would please me more. What say you?
Oh, it's been a long day. Rest. Yes, of course. As you may have noticed, I'm no spring chicken. Thank you. You're very kind to say so. But in all honesty, there is always something else to do. And I have to keep going in order to do... Oh, no. I'm not the sort of person that leaves things unfinished. Have you encountered many abominations, apart from the ones in the Circle Tower? You are younger than I, and your nerves yet have some steel in them. Did you feel any fear facing the abominations? The first time I saw an abomination, my blood turned to ice. It was months before the nightmares stopped. It was the knowledge that I could easily become one of them that frightened me the most. One slip. All it takes is one slip, and everything you are is simply gone, replaced by madness. And there is no turning back, or at least that's what they say. Of late, I have begun to wonder if there is any way an abomination can be cured, or if a mage could be so possessed and still retain their sanity, their humanity. Yes, it is madness and cruelty that define abominations. If those are lacking, if the mage remembers the person they truly are, then they are not an abomination. I never saw that. Thank you for showing me another way of looking at it. So, tell me, how did you become a Grey Warden? You survived the deep roads and the darkspawn that dwell there? Truly, you were born to be a Grey Warden. Take heart, dear friend. You survived, even when you were not expected to. We do not know yet what lies in store for you, or the name you carry. It is not so bad, is it, being a Grey Warden? Sometimes it gives me comfort to think that everything will end up the way it's supposed to. That it will be all right. You were chosen. You survived the joining when others did not. Perhaps it was meant to be. I must ask, what does being a Grey Warden mean to you? There's that, of course. But there's more to being a Grey Warden than killing darkspawn and saving the world from the Blight. Ultimately, being a Grey Warden is about serving others, about serving all people, whether elves or dwarves or men. As a Grey Warden, you are a guardian of men,
and you guard them because their continued existence is more important than you are. Thus it is you who serves, not they. A good king, a true king who cares for his land, uses his power to rule firmly but fairly. He serves his people first and foremost. The king who does not do this, who believes that he is entitled to his power, who abuses it and uses it for his own means, is a tyrant. And the country suffers for it. If you live apart from others and your actions affect only you, then you may do as you wish. But if you have power, influence, and strength, your every action will be as a drop of water in a clear, still pond. The drop causes ripples, and ripples spread. Think of how far they will go, how wide they will become, how will they affect the pond. But I've lectured enough for today. I should stop before I wear out my welcome. You're quite taken with each other, aren't you? I've seen the way she looks at you, the familiarity with which you speak, how she always finds a way to place herself next to you. I've noticed your blossoming relationship, and I wanted to ask you where you thought it was going. Leliana is a remarkable girl, sincere and guileless, and she has opened her heart to you. I would not like to see her hurt. Not intentionally, no. But there is great potential for tragedy here, for one or both of you. You are a Grey Warden. You have responsibilities which supersede your personal desires. Love is ultimately selfish. It demands that one be devoted to a single person who may fully occupy one's mind and heart to the exclusion of all else. A Grey Warden cannot afford to be selfish. You may be forced to make a choice between saving your love and saving everyone else. And then what would you do? Nothing is certain. Not in these times. You cannot take anything for granted. I want you to be aware of this. If you insist, I have given my advice. Do with it what you will. What's on your mind? Oh, yes, and thank you for asking. I'm feeling much better today. Well, thank you for your kindness, my dear. It certainly warms these rickety old bones. What's on your mind? I will answer to the best of my ability. People don't become mages. They are born mages. The talent just surfaces later. But you are asking how I ended up at the Circle. I was brought there by the Templars, just like many of the other apprentices. I don't remember very much. I was very young then. Quite a few decades, yes. My life before the Circle is a fuzzy memory. I didn't have a family. I never knew my real parents. My earliest memory was of hiding in a hayloft on a farm, trying to keep warm. I was found, and the farmer's wife was kind enough not to send me away. But they had children of their own, and I was never made to feel welcome. The eldest son was the worst. He was always calling me a stray and throwing anything he could get his hands on at me. And I don't know how it happened, but one day he just found his hair on fire. Fortunately, there was a large trough nearby. I had singed his hair and eyebrows, but injured little other than his pride. Who knows what they would have done to me had he been more seriously hurt. Thankfully, all I had to endure was a few nights locked in a cold barn with a bowl of water and a crust of bread. The Templars arrived several mornings later. One of them ignored me, but the other was kind to me. He gave me sweets and even sat me on his shoulders once when I wanted to look over a high wall that ran along the road. I'll never forget the moment the Templars led me into the entrance hall of the tower. I had never seen anything so grand in my life. I stopped being afraid then. I knew I was home. Well, that's about all there is to my tale. That's how I came to the circle. I would be lying if I said it was easy. First, there were rules, and we were constantly watched to make sure we behaved appropriately. Then there was the study of magic. We had to cast the spells just so, control the effects completely. A single word spoken incorrectly, a gesture out of sync, and lack of focus. And we needed to have perfect focus, or we would be in danger. Without the circle and my mentors, I would not have been where I am today. And there was joy in life at the circle. The joys of fellowship, in knowing that you were not alone in your struggles. In spite of everything, I was happy in the tower. And I loved it. What's on your mind? I will answer to the best of... The circle is in good hands. For now, I will support those that battle the Darkspawn. The Grey Wardens. And after that, if I am still left standing, then I will return. No, of course I don't. I'm old and unsure of what I'm doing. I know. But to allay your fears, what's on your mind? I will answer. What's up? Is something troubling you? You are one of the two. It may not mean much to you, and that gives me hope. Have you heard much about the Grey Wardens of old? It was said that watching the Wardens ride in on their white griffins was enough to rouse a weary heart and put the dance back in the step of an old man. The Grey Wardens were powerful. I remember a tale that was told to me many years ago. I was going to. Do you object to this? The Blight had ravaged the land for months, and the armies of the great kings had amassed for one last stand. As the sun burst through the clouds that boiled and churned in the dark sky above, it illuminated a vast, seething horde of Darkspawn, with the archdemon at its head. And it was then, when courage seemed to fail, and all lost to death and despair, that the Grey Wardens came. They arrived with the beating of wings like mighty war drums, and stood before the armies of men. The Grey Wardens, grim and fearless, marched forth, ever between the men and the encroaching Darkspawn. They formed a shield of their own bodies and held that line until the archdemon was dead, and the last Darkspawn lay trampled in the dirt. And then, demanding neither reward nor recognition for their sacrifice, the Grey Wardens departed. When the clouds finally rolled back, and the sun shone full upon the blighted ground, the great kings knew that they had lost no men, and none of their blood had been spilled. This is a tale. They have always defended us. What's on your mind? No, you won't. Were you expecting an, oh, I'm sure you will. You'll have dozens of babies and die happy and old in your bed. No, you won't. You wonder sometimes, don't you? If your life would be... When I was a young woman in the town, family, love, a simple life. These were things that... It made me very moody. I started hating my life and myself, and one night I found myself in the tower's chapel. I was seeking refuge, maybe answers. Well, I was. Dreadfully morose. Surly. Anyway, where was I? Ah, yes, the chapel. I must have looked tearful or made some noise, because the revered mother came out and decided to speak to me. And because I had no one else to talk to, I talked to her. I must have said many silly things, but she told me that the Maker puts us all on our paths for a reason, and fighting our intended course is what causes so much anguish. I thought the old biddy was full of rubbish. I was 15, maybe 16, and I knew everything. So I left, but I always found my way back to that chapel. And as the years passed, I began to see the truth of her words. We were supposed to be polar opposites, mage and priest. But we weren't. There was much about us that was the same. The revered mother had lived in the chantry all her life, as I had been in the tower for all of mine. She taught me that you can find your family in the people around you, that you can love your work and find fulfillment, and there is joy even in self-sacrifice. If you put others before yourself, then their well-being is yours, and their happiness is your... You can scream and cry and be angry. This is... What's on your mind?
Something you need? I'm...
Oh, thank you. That's very nice.
You have my thanks. You have my
Something on your mind? Of course.
You called. I am hardly to put. No one has a place here. Your father. Very well.